Hi everyone, it's Linda from LyndaCreates, and this is part 5 of the slow stitching notebook. This is continuing on the inside front cover. Last time I left this, I still had a lot of area to do. There's so much I want to add to it. The video was getting way too long, so I thought I'd cut it into 2 videos because I just have so much to do, and I don't want to rush through it, and I don't want to not do it. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching this as it continues. I'm just having so much fun with this. So let me go ahead and do some more stitchings. This is the inside front cover of the notebook. So when you open the notebook, it'll be the left hand side, and this has a piece of hand-dyed silk that I thrifted from a fabric thrift store, and a lot of embroidery, mostly French knots, a few other knots in there, stitches in there. It is just a fun project, doing something totally different, experimenting and making something that I am having so much fun doing. So I am stitching away in this top corner here. I've done some really fun bullion stitching, French knots. Not sure, I know I have a lot over here that I have to do, so once I get to a point where I have everything that I can do around in here, then I'll take it out of this frame and stitch it by hand. I can't go too much further than here because this will go into the where the binder rings over here. So and I've just been going around and trying to follow the color waves that are happening, but then I decided it still looked a little flat. I mean, looked beautiful, but it looked flat. So then I thought I must add beads. So I've been starting to add some beads. I'm using 1 strand of embroidery floss and a thinner needle, and I'm using seed beads. So what I'm doing is filling in some of these gaps, but I just want to show. See how these beads are facing sideways so you see the color really nicely? So if you put the stitch through one time, it tends to come up where you see the hole is facing upwards. So I discovered if you stitch it twice, you go through the hole twice, it secures it in a more horizontal position, so you see the color a lot better. You're adding the beads, so why not make them look as pretty as possible? So the other thing I'm doing too is after about every roughly 5 beads that I'm attaching, I tie it down with the knot in back, and then without cutting the floss, I go on to the next section. So it's every 5 beads, knotted in the back, start again, just continuing through. And that way, if for any reason some beads were to fall off, everything wouldn't fall off. It would be only roughly the 5 beads or so that are in that area. It's just kind of a way to secure them. So I'm going to keep working on the beads. I'm going to put some purples in here. I also have some green beads and some really large but pretty blue, thrifted blue beads. So I'm going to work them around here. I finished the purple seed beads and I added some green beads. But now what I'm doing is these thrifted beads that I have in the blue are larger, so I couldn't use them quite the same way. So what I'm doing is making them look like bubbles So I'm going to add them all into these as well and a few other places. I love the way that they look like little bubbles inside of these rings, and I think that'll add a nice pattern into these. I'm still continuing on doing these beads here, but I also came to an idea. Now, before I show you that, let me explain. When I place this in the notebook, in the binder, from here, where this change of color is, right here, on, is going to be coming up to the, touching the rings. The rings will be, you know, here, here, and here. So I didn't want to do a lot of stitching on this side of the fabric because it will constantly rub against the rings over time. I didn't want to damage the art. So I'm leaving like this area open, but it left kind of I need to do something down here, and I need to do something to include all this too, but something up here, and I didn't want it to be heavy French knots or beads or anything like that. So digging through my stash, I found these bits of yarn that I bought on Facebook Marketplace. This lady had a lot of scrap yarn, and they were so pretty, and it was just a total variety of yarn. And when I was digging through my stash, I found that there was some blues and greens in there. I'm going to couch these down into this area, and again, because they go thick and thin, it would be an interesting wave, like as it goes around these shapes, to go thick and thin and just kind of continue over. It won't matter if the rings hit them. They'll still hold their shape. And I may do more. I'm going to definitely do some down here. I don't know if I'm going to do more on the left-hand side, because once I take it out of the frame, I'll be able to do a lot more stitching on the left side. But the right side, I was a little concerned. I didn't want it to look too plain, but I didn't want it to be too much embroidery and get damaged. I have plenty of this yarn to do even more, but I'm also trying not to do too much and take away from the beauty of the fabric itself. It looks very, again, very flowy and organic. Goes off. I want to put in the couching of the yarn pieces, so I need to take it off the frame. So I just wanted to show, the good thing is it holds really well. The bad thing is it's sometimes hard to take off. So one of the things I discovered, because this particular one comes apart this way, what I can do is pull it and then slide it. If you can get that off. So if you slide it off, it is easier. As long as you don't damage any stitching underneath. So basically, it's a little awkward this way, but it is, if you don't have a real strong ability to pop it off, it is easier. What I have to do now is do a little bit of couching here. I'm just pinning it down to hold it in place. The other thing too that I'm doing is trying to make it so that the thinner pieces, like the thinner area of this yarn, comes right near the curve and then opens up to a big wide piece. Now here, since I have a narrow part right there, I'm going to have the two narrow pieces of these two shapes pass by right here. And one's going to come from down here. I'm just looking, I guess I'm looking at them like streams of color. Okay, I think I could start some couching. I'm going to start somewhere right here. The trick is going to be to try to make it look like the wrapping around it. Let's see. So if I do the stitch at this kind of angle, then it ties in with how the yarn itself is wrapped, so you don't necessarily see the stitching. This is the one that I just stitched down. I like the way it turned out. I think the green floss worked perfectly to hold it in place. I think the angles are going to be nice. Yeah, I'm happy. So you can see how this stitching, it actually went down really well. Very easy with some couching stitches. And the colors kind of blend real nicely, and the thick and thin are just gorgeous the way they work. In doing French knots, which a lot of this is French knots, I needed something to hold it stiff. So I'm using a little 4-inch embroidery hoop, which is perfect because it doesn't smash the bullion stitches that are out here. And it actually doesn't hit any of the French knots either. It is something you kind of have to take into consideration. Just wanted to share this in the works. I have been stitching away and I'm loving, absolutely loving the way it's turning out. You can see I couched down this yarn and made it flow through the fabric. And then I just finished up this bottom area. And now I'm working on this top area here where I'm doing some bullion stitches as little ringlets on the side here. And I have so much more to do in that area, but I just want to pause a minute and share where I'm at. I'm working on this area in this corner right now, and I'm using bullion knots and French knots, and I'm trying to do these circular bullion knots. So I want to share, I still need to perfect this. I don't have it perfect yet, but I'm working on it. So I'm going to do the bullion circle. So I come up, I want to catch the tiniest stitch possible without catching the thread. The trick is not to catch the floss underneath because it will cause it not to pull through easily. I'm going to do 25. The 25 wrap bullion circle is just, it seems cuter than the longer ones. Let's see. Okay. And then I'm going to do the finishing stitch back to make it a perfect little circle. And you can manipulate it a little bit at this point. Do the tacking stitch again, do it from the outside because you get a little bit better idea of how to position a perfect little bullion circle. I don't know, this ended up looking very organic and very watery. There is still so much I can do with this, so I don't know if I will have it all done by the time you see this video, but I'm just going to keep working on it. It truly is like a try it and test it and play with it kind of piece, but because it's going to be so prominent in my notebook, I want it to be beautiful. So I think we're getting there as I test out new stitches. So I have this area that I just added and I made it go into this section here. I think I'll do a little bit down here, bring some blue down here. And I want to do something here. Not sure yet, but I will add some blue. So one of the things I learned with the bullion stitch that I noticed no one really explains, and this is where I got messed up when I first did a bullion stitch, is that when you come back up here, so I started there, came around, when you take the needle back up there, you don't want to pass through where this stitch in the same hole, because if you catch that stitch, it won't pull through as easily. And maybe that's obvious to everybody, but when I first started doing bullion stitches, I didn't know that. I thought I was trying to be in the same hole, like a French knot, and no, you want it to be slightly off, even if it's only one thread width away. It doesn't work if you go in the same hole. So I'm lost count how many wraps. Okay, one more. I don't know how many bullion stitches I'll end up doing in this project, but it is one of the most satisfying stitches. It just looks so cool when it's done. Just want to say, so many things can go wrong when you're pulling it through, but if you do it right, it looks so cool. I just wanted to share something that I have discovered I really love about bullion knots or bullion stitches, is how if you make them a little bit, if you wrap them a little bit longer than the stitch length, they tend to curl, right? They bend and they curl, and they kind of undulate, kind of like waves. And if you position your stitches in such a way that they ripple over each other, like here you could see them kind of cascading over each other, it is such a cool look. It looks so natural and just organic looking. So I am absolutely loving how they turn out. You could see it happening kind of here in the green too, but as I was doing this blue here, it just kind of rippled over itself, and I just love that look and wanted to share that. I'm going to stop here for this video. I'm going to keep working on it, so please be sure and tune in next week to see this piece finished. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to see your comments. And please check out my website, LyndaCreates.com. That's Linda with a Y. Check it out because I have so many other projects that I've been doing. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!